The organized labor comprising the Nigerian Labour Congress (NLC), Trade Union Congress (TUC) has reiterated its May 31, 2024 ultimatum to the federal government to meet all its demands, which includes implementation of a new national minimum wage and reversal of hiking electricity tariff. This followed the Monday emergency meeting of National Executive Council (NEC) of the NLC and TUC in response to the pressing national issues affecting Nigerian workers. Among the issues discussed by the labor leaders was the persistent non-compliance with the 2019 National Minimum Wage Act by some state governments. In the resolution jointly signed by NLC President Joe Ajaero and TUC leader Festus Osifo, the labor unions also directed their members in Anambra State to mobilize for an industrial action in the event that the state governor do not meet the demands of the workers by May 23, 2024. Joining us now on the show as we look at the contentious contention between organized labor and the federal government of Nigeria on minimum wage is Benson Upah, Head of Department of Information, Nigeria Labour Congress NLC. Great to have you again, sir. I think just about a couple of days ago we had you here. And the question I keep asking, let's go back to the minimum wage. I think now the government has said, okay, we can move the needle a little bit about 100K, thereabouts. Is that a good place to start from in these days? What do you want? Is this still a 615,000 or nothing? Secondly, I know you also want to talk about the reversal to the tariffs as regards the electricity tariff. Some will say since they reversed to about 206, is it a total reversal to 65 naira or nothing? Let's know those positions. But with 100,000 or a little over 100,000 hovering around the table now, can we do a deal now or is still 615,000 or nothing?
Thank you very much. It's my honor and privilege to be with you this morning.
Bless you, sir.
Yes. On the issue of 100,000, I'll say directly that it is totally unrealistic and unacceptable. And the figures speak for themselves. How much does a bag of rice go for now?
80,000 as I yesterday.
Let us even forget about the 20,000.
80,000 naira.
Did I hear you say?
80,000. As I yesterday, yes.
80.
Yes, 80,000 naira.
80,000 naira.
Yes.
Okay. Well, that speaks to the matter. Rice is one of our staple food here in the country. But that is not all. The figures are manifestly clear. One, at the time we did 30,000, the inflation rate was 11.40%. At the moment, inflation is 33.7% and climbing. The exchange rate are given the fact that we are an import-dependent economy. The exchange rate is 1,600 naira to $1 and climbing. If you look at interest rates, the central bank has jacked up interest rates, per hour. If you look at the customs, within 3 months or so, customs jacked their rates how many times? So everything points to the fact that nothing is settled yet. There is a lot of instability in our economy as it is. But also take note of the fact that at the time we made the demand of 615,000, government had not jacked up the tariffs. Government has since jacked up energy tariff by 250%. Those who are going to pay that 250%, I assure you, they will pass on that cost to the prices of their products and services. But even before the effect of 250% begins to manifest, I'm sure you must have read in the papers about the complaints of Manufacturers Association. Their warehouses are full because there is no longer capacity to buy. And then secondly, prices are getting higher and higher. So what that means is that 100,000 will go to no issue. I do believe that 615,000 is modest enough, is well thought out, and government should do the needful. On the issue of tariff hike, yeah, you know, the rules stipulate that before tariffs are jacked up, there should be a conversation with the critical stakeholders. Government never did that. It acted in violation of that rule. But beyond that, we are not talking about 5%, 10% price hike. We are talking about a whopping 250%. Where does that kind of thing happen? But in any case, at the 250% tariff addresses the question of symptoms. They are not addressing the fundamental issues. Why the successor entities in the electricity sector are finding it difficult to operate. That matter is not being addressed. At the last time that I did, at my last outing with you, I did say that the privatization of the energy sector was patently faulty, and that it has led to an unhappy marriage between the successor entities and the government. And the right appropriate thing to do will be to do a review of that process or a reversal. There is nothing to be ashamed of here, because we cannot go at this rate. You do 250%, now the next time it's going to be 500%, until you do 1,000%, and yet there is no destination in sight. So all we are saying is that we should revert to status quo ante, preceding the 250% tariff hike. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you very much. I hear you, and you have been quite consistent in giving the rationale or justification for your 615,000 naira. But a number of things have been said to make this almost impracticable. You know, if we look at the effect it would have on the economy in terms of inflation rate, we're still trying to tame that, or the CBN is still trying to tame that. And then very realistically is how many people can truly afford to pay 615,000 naira in terms of how many organizations. In the communique released by Organized Labour, jointly signed by the president of the NLC and president of the TUC, following your meeting on the 20th of May, you identified that there are some states in Nigeria where the governors, where they are owing salaries and they've not been able to pay the 30,000 naira minimum wage, which has now expired by law. Which states are these? Which states are still owing salaries at 30,000 naira? I'd like you to share with us this morning, because having identified those states, how would they then be able to pay 615,000 naira?
Yeah, there are about 3, 4, 5 states, amongst them Anambra and Zamfara. And I want to tell you that they did not pay, not due to paucity of funds. They refused to pay because of their penchant for breaking the law. And it was also an act of irresponsibility, because 30% was a very moderate national minimum wage at the time it was given. That they chose to pay has not put more money in their treasuries. It has not. So
you mean Anambra is owing, Anambra State is owing workers' salary?
Anambra is one of them. And let me also say this of Anambra State. Anambra State is one of the worst, if not the worst, wage payer. I keep saying this. you know, the national minimum wage is not synonymous with the pay packages or the pay structures adopted by the states. Each state pays according to their capacity, their pay structure. I keep using this example. In Benue State, a chief, that is a level 14 officer, earns more than a level 16 officer in Anambra State. And I hope the governor is watching and listening. I'm waiting for anybody to say what you are saying is a lie. So Anambra does not value its workers. It does not value what they call dignity of labor. So it is one of the states that is observing this law in breach. And that is the reason why we have said the workers in the state should mobilize for action.
All right.
If by 23rd of this month, yes.
Let me just ask quickly.
So,
what's the backlog?
As for Zamfara.
Yes, you still touch on Zamfara. And I want you to, because I want you to give us, name and shame the states today. Because I'm sure a number of people will be quite surprised to hear that Anambra State, with Governor Soludo at the helm of affairs, is owing workers' salary. How many months have workers been owed in Anambra and Zamfara? Then please tell us the situation.
I want to tell. I will give you the statistics, but quite unfortunately, I do not have them on my fingertips now. But I want to tell you, we're not talking about 5 months, 6 months, 7 months. No, it's been a willful conduct, an act of disdain for workers. I've just told you that beyond the issue of even the minimum wage, the governor has no respect for the quality of workforce it does have. That is a reason. I've just given you an example. And some states even pay much higher than Benue pays. And so there is no reason why anybody would think that wages are the issue. No, it's not wages. What drives costs are imprudence, corruption, and all of that. And we know this. So, speaking directly to the question of capacity to pay, I want to tell you that the states have been reaping, have been enjoying a windfall.
Okay.
Look at what has been shared in the FAQ in the past months.
All right.
From 700 and something billion. From 700 and something billion to 1.3 trillion. Okay. So they have enough resources to play around with, and I would advise that they do not take labor for granted, because labor creates wealth.
All right, you didn't talk about, you mentioned Anambra, Zamfara. You were going to tell us the Zamfara situation. You say, yes, in the case of Anambra, it's yes, just total disdain for workers, in your words.
Yes, I was.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, I was about to tell you that in Zamfara, that you must have read, at least you must have seen video clips of the profligacy in Zamfara. The tragedy. If you do not have that video clip, I'll look for it. I'm going to send it to you. That even basic things the government of Zamfara failed to do, but could afford to indulge in other excesses that befuddle the mind. So, what this tells us is that payment of the national wage is not dependent on resources per se. It depends on two factors: the political will to so do, and secondly, prioritization. Do you attach value to your workforce? Do you want them to perform more?
Okay.
Do you appreciate the fact that if they have capacity, that is going to stimulate the economy of the state?
Okay. Very, very well said. As regards the case, we've also seen some reactions from the governor of Anambra, for instance. I would like to say, I'd like to ask, can you give us exactitudes or numbers? Out of the 30,000 naira, how much are they paying workers as we speak in Anambra State? Exact numbers. How much?
Some 18,000.
Anambra
probably
State
18, 20,000. Look, let me tell you.
They pay 18,000.
Yes,
How much does Zamfara pay workers out of the 30,000?
Around that 18,000 too.
They pay 18,000, and they don't even pay the 18,000 as I went due.
Yes.
There's a big backlog. So you guys, because I saw that there was back and forth on Labor Day, Workers' Day on the 1st of May in Anambra. So you guys are going to shut down that state, you know, very soon. As regards the workers, you're going to go out on a big strike if nothing is done. Secondly, I would like to ask, as regards this 615,000, that's the minimum wage, isn't it? So if...
Yes, 615,000.
615,000 is minimum wage.
Yes.
If you own a company, can you pay your security personnel 615,000 per month in the Nigeria of today? If it's your company.
Yes, I can. All things being equal, I can. And I'll tell you how.
But you know, all things are not equal in Nigeria. You've said inflation with your mouth. You've said lack of growth, 3.5% growth. You've said lackluster economy. So all things are not equal. But you say you will be able to pay 615,000.
I thought you asked me to give you an answer. I thought you asked me to give me an answer. If you knew the answer, then why did you ask me?
I have a right to probe. It's my job to probe you.
Okay.
It's my job to get you the best possible answer out. That's my job. Go ahead.
It is also my duty to tell you that if you ask me a question, you should allow me to answer. If not, don't ask. Then don't ask the question.
Go ahead. 615,000. Tell me how you're going to pay it in Nigeria of today. Tell me. Go ahead.
So that is why there is a provision. So that's the reason why. That is why there is a provision. I mean for a follow-up. So now you've asked me.
Go ahead and tell me how you're going to pay
615,000.
How will you pay 615,000?
And I told you. And I told you.
No, I've asked you, go ahead and answer the question.
You give me the floor and I'll answer you.
The floor is yours. Go ahead.
Listen, I was telling you that 615,000 is payable by those in the employment industry. I told you the resources are there. Everything points to the fact that more money will be earned once the capacity of workers is enhanced. Now, nobody is buying because they don't have the capacity to buy. It is not because they do not have the desire. They do have the desire to buy. Okay? It is, once there is capacity, it will create a synergy. At the last outing, I cited the example of the United States under Obama, that Obama came and met recession. He raised wages. He gave money to big business. That created a synergy, which had a bullish run up till the term of Trump. You see, low wages never ever help any country. What low wages do is that they deepen poverty. You cannot redeem poverty with poverty. You eliminate poverty by creating wealth. So it's simple economics. So if you pay somebody 3,000, 20,000, it is. Let me give you the example of Anambra State. Has it become richer? Has Zamfara become richer? The states that have even paid more than the minimum wage appear to be doing better. Okay, performing better. So I shared with you the story of a state, or maybe no. I think it was with BBC I shared that story. You see, there was a governor who after a while said he was not going to pay 30,000. And we had a conversation with him. I told him, I said, look, of all the states around you here, yours is the most peaceful. You want to join the ranks of states with a crisis? Can't you see that there is a nexus between prosperity and security? I say, once you cease paying 30,000, you are going to introduce poverty into your state. Capacity will drop, and that is going to lead to unforeseen consequences. And he saw the need for it, and he paid. And he had a successful exit. That governor, if he's watching now, he knows himself, is occupying a strategic position in the country at the moment.
Would you respect, if you can hear me, if you can hear me,
if
you can hear me, I've given you the room to speak. If you can hear me, you've not still answered my question. Where is the productivity to pay 615,000?
So what is your question?
No, hang on a minute. Where is the productivity to pay 615,000 in a Nigeria of today that the economy is not growing? Where? I'm not saying pay shambolic salaries, not get me wrong. 615,000 for the least worker in a Nigeria today that there's no productivity. So take, for instance, if I have 10 people in the office and I run a small business and I don't make any money, my wage bill for those 10 people alone will be over 7 or 8 million naira. In a company where I barely makes 4 million naira a month, where are people going to be able to pay it? And please stop talking about America, because the dynamics of the economy is far different from what you have here. Let me give you like for like. Udoji Award in the 70s. We saw it happen in Nigeria, not in America. When we paid wage award, the inflation it brought, over 40%. It happened here. So with this very small growth, where are you going to get the money for organized private sector to pay 615,000 for the least worker? Where? That's my question for you.
Are you done?
Yes,
Are
sir.
you done?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
I'm going to ask your question. I'm going to answer your question pointedly. First, I want you to look at the minimum, the National Minimum Wage Act. There are provisions for companies. You have to be in a position to employ a minimum of 25 persons from that up. Take a look at that act carefully. It is not every employer of labor that is covered by the National Minimum Wage Act. Take a look at that. That is one. Then two, you are speaking from the perspective of poverty. You say, where are they going to get the money from? That the economic growth is about 3% and so on and so forth. Have you tried to understand why you have such a stunted growth? There must be reasons for this. Address those fundamentals. Address them. When you keep on creating an increasingly hostile environment, and 40% of big business has collapsed, 30% of the next the level of business wiped out, 60% of smaller businesses gone. Have you asked yourself why this is so? You are looking at the symptoms. I want you to look at the fundamentals. You talk about Udoji Award in 74, 75. I remember very well. So that had effect, all right?
All right.
And you also said that, that we should not, listen, you also said that we should not compare, Nigeria to America. Why wouldn't we compare Nigeria to America? We are paying American rates. What you pay in the filling station per liter now is what is charged in the US.
All right.
The rate to pay. Let me tell you. If you don't know. No. I will answer you. I will answer you. I will answer you.
Upah. We're about to round off now. So I'll just ask you a question. I can understand your agitation. I understand the passion that you have for Nigerian workers. And so let me ask you this as we begin to round off. It's a trade-off, right? And so it's what organized labor is willing to trade off. If you insist, like you rightly said, from provisions of the Constitution, threshold of about 25 workers to be able to pay minimum wage by law, how many industries, organizations, private sector, even as we've mentioned already, even government institutions, make a turnover to be able to pay that amount of money? Because multiply 615,000 by 25 people. We're saying this because we want you to also be real with the Nigerian worker and not give unrealistic expectations or hope to the people, whereby they become agitated and they base their hope on what is not possible. If you put side by side the GDP of Nigeria, productivity of Nigeria, the economy as it stands cannot afford to pay that amount of money. Do you think perhaps what organized labor should be pushing for more, and this is the question, do you think that rather than pushing for an unrealistic amount of money according to what the economy says, to push for more reforms, more productivity by policies that would engineer productivity in the economy? So your fight for reduction of tariff, your fights for some form of palliatives for people, for investment in businesses, should that not be a better fight for labor rather than asking for 615,000 naira per month?
Well, thank you for your conciliatory tone, but I'm afraid you are speaking from the perspective of market fundamentalism, and that is not going to work, okay? So labor creates wealth. If you want reforms, reforms must be beneficial to the productive sector. We are presently running a kiosk economy, okay? Even water now is being imported. Drinking water. So why don't we create a situation whereby we can produce all of this here? PMS is being imported. For years, they've been saying, oh, refineries are going to be ready. Refineries are going to be ready. But you have a pocket of elites who have held us hostage, held the refineries hostage. They are not producing. The little money we have is used to import fuel. It's used to import ABCD. In my years in school, let me tell you this. In my years in school, as an undergraduate, let me tell you, it was 15 naira to $1. So I have sufficiently experienced in this country to speak to you across the decades. And I was here when it was better than this. Our history, our story is turning out to be a tragic one. A situation whereby yesterday is always better than today. We have to address these issues. At the moment, we're addressing the symptoms. And as a final word for this, I will always use the Western capitals. I will always compare them to Nigeria. And this is the reason why. The Bretton Woods institutions that are imposing on us these policies, imposing on this country these figures, they can't do that out there. At the moment, we are paying the same prices. We are paying the same cost. There should be a relationship between what the people there earn and what we earn here. I said the other day that in the United States, the minimum wage is 2.5 million naira. And we're asking just for 1/5 of this. So what is so bad about this? Let me also tell you this, that the political wages are the same from Zamfara to Yobe to Bayelsa. None of you is complaining about that. Do you know how much they earn? You do not know. You don't want to speak about that. At the last time there was a wage review in this country was about thank
you so much for your time this morning. To be honest, to be fair, we do challenge wages. We do challenge.
Why that of politicians was 450%.
Thank you so much, Comrade Benson Upah. It's been great having you on the show this morning. Unfortunately, we're out of time.
So be fair to us.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's time now. Thank you so much for your time.